So I only have a couple slides. I'm Bucky Willis. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. And I have a workshop later on today called People of Color, Birthing a New Design Genre. I think that's after lunch at some time. So the image is just some of you look at besides me because I know this is not easy to look at. In any case, I wanted to just get up here. I don't have any slides because I just thought that I would get up here and talk about what's been on my mind for the last few days through an ACD conference and things I've been thinking about in general. And I'm from Detroit, which is 91% of color, and it's 85% black. And growing up, I realized I wanted to be in this built environment field, but I also realized that the built environment was not actually designed by people of color. That we often participate in places that have been designed by white dudes. And in school, all I heard about was the architecture of white dudes. So when we have these conversations and we, when I went to the National Museum of African American History and Culture, it reminded me of why I do what I do. It reminded me of how massive this thing is that we fight as people of color. It reminded me that small groups of people can make huge changes that last throughout history. And thinking about reverberations and doing things today that can last forever or last longer, it just affirmed me that the conversations that we have later as people of color that will affect the design genres that we identify with, as far as ethnicity goes, will hopefully just be the beginning discussion that will keep us going and keep fire under our butts for many years and turn into something bigger. This project is the Unlearning House, and what this symbolizes for me is the discussion of what it means to value being a black person, to value being a person of color, and unlearn a lot of things that have been infiltrated into our minds through symbolism, through systemic racism, through all these things that we have just, that we come to day to day, right? And we don't even always realize it. And so there's just a few points I wanted to get across from hearing about Whitney and Young, from hearing about how a design center movement started that are important to me. So expressing myself is one of the things I love to do the most. And I realize that if we don't, as people of color, express ourselves through our practice, then we are doing a disservice to the people who we really serve. That we can't just look at the designs of the books and the texts that we've been given through college, that we have to start writing the books ourselves. We have to start reading the books of the people who are like us, who we identify with, no matter what ethnicity or where we're from. And I think there's something intuitive in that we speak to ourselves greater than anybody else can speak to us, that we know our own struggles, that we know our own cultural nuances, that we know that we speak a language to our own people that is innate and it's in our DNA. And so only we can speak to these things. So when we grow up and live in cities that have been designed by people, European Americans, people who are white, people who are men, people who aren't women, it's a disservice, right? So my thing that I've been thinking about lately is how do we start these conversations more? How do we become more expressive? How do we become more emboldened? How do we say, I'm going to demand a safe space, and it's people of color only? And how do we know that if you are a white ally, that you understand why we need those safe spaces? That if you really want to serve us, or if you really want to help, the best thing that you can hope for us is that we don't need your help. That the only reason that you have to be an ally instead of a friend is because white folks have created systems and mazes that we need to navigate through, and so we need your help for that sometimes. But and if we say we don't need your help, you should be joyous, right? I think just being expressive is what Whitney Young did when he got up on stage all that time ago. And I think in that expression, just him being able to say it like it was, somebody in that crowd took it to heart, and not everybody, but somebody, and that made the difference, right? And only Whitney Young could have said it. Only a person of color could have said it the way that he did. So later on, we'll have discussions in our small group that kind of unpack some of this work. You can go to the next slide. And this is the last slide. And I think that the emboldened part and expressive part comes when we say, when I can say as a Black person, I'm going to build a house or design a space with a 200-foot long porch. And I'm not going to worry about stereotypes and dogmas. And I don't give a fart if people, sorry, that fart on stage. If people think about the fact that this is burnt wood that we'll be using on the facade in a city where we have some of the worst arson in the country, or that Black people on porches is what people mostly call porch monkeys. And so how do I just lean into that and not worry about it and know that as a person in Detroit, we love sitting on our porches. We do so much on our porches. So it's about being expressive despite stereotypes, despite what people might think who are not like us, and just leaning into that. So that's what I've been thinking about lately. The conversation about what it means to be urban and regal and unlearn things will continue to happen for me, and I've been talking to people of color for a few months now, and I will continue to talk to people of color for a long time until I feel like we have become expressive in our work as designers, and that we can start to birth new genres that help us get to the architectural canon. Thank you.